Hi, I'm Larry Cooperman. I'm the Director of Business Development for Nightdive Studios. We're a company that specializes in retro games, remakes, and remasters.
Nice. So, System Shock. We here at Shacknews, we've had a few conversations with y'all about System Shock as it's been progressing. But today we got a really good look at like a little bit of pre-beta here, where your guys are almost ready for the beta.
So we're in the pre-beta right now. We are looking for a simultaneous release, expected to be this year across all consoles and PC. Which means that we need to constantly test to make sure that changes and fixes don't break things, unexpectedly. And we're looking at supporting both Generation 8 and 9 on PlayStation and Xbox, as well, of course, of having a PC version.
Nice. Now, you guys have hit a few snags in development. You kind of had to, you were heading one direction, and then you kind of realized that you had to pivot because that wasn't really what System Shock fans were looking for, right?
We're pretty sensitive to what goes on in our community, to the feedback that we were getting. And while it at least potentially could have been a great game, it wouldn't have been System Shock. And we want to be really true to that original vision.
Nice. Yeah, no, this game definitely has it's got a legacy, if you will, that people really admire too, and the people that grew up on this game are very passionate about it.
Absolutely, and that's a heavy responsibility. We want to make sure that we describe the demographic that we appeal to in really two segments. There's the hardcore old school gamer fans that have played the original from beginning to end, multiple times. And we want to make sure that we satisfy their expectations, that the game looks and feels the way a successor to System Shock should look and feel. On the other hand, we have a much larger demographic that has come to know us through our newer games, that have come to know us through games like Doom 64, Quake, that we've attracted. Tends to be a younger gaming audience, and they have expectations that the game is going to play the way a modern title should play, and it should work that way. And we want to make sure that we address both segments' needs.
Nice. That's got to be a challenge in and of itself, because people definitely remember how System Shock played, how it felt like, obviously games were a little slower back then. They didn't have such
fancy features like you could use your mouse.
Yeah. So it's like, how difficult is it to kind of find the balance between bringing it into a modern setting while still making it feel like totally intact?
So every member of the team, System Shock was meaningful to them. I will give a shout out to probably our main person on that, Daniel Gratian. Daniel has been making sure that we stay true to the System Shock canon, to the legacy of the game, and so he's stayed with that. On the other hand, and again, this has been well documented. We originally started building the game in Unity. Nothing wrong with Unity, but we found that Unreal was a better solution for what we were looking to do. And so we did that pivot. And it's really been through Unreal and our partnerships with both Epic and with, to some extent, with NVIDIA on that, that we've been able to create what we believe to be the definitive modern version of System Shock that plays smoothly, that the controls work the way today's players expect them to, and it's very true to the original vision and the feel of System Shock.
Nice. Now I'm curious, when you're balancing the game and you're trying to bring it in, you obviously face some challenges. But I'm curious, what was something that you didn't expect to sort of be a hurdle, and was there anything that was actually easier than you had planned on?
I'm really going to have to defer some of those questions to the dev team, but things that we're really pleased the way that they've come about, the look and feel of Citadel Station, the degree of both fidelity to the original vision, but the detail that we have in the new version of System Shock has been really pleasing. I can't comment on how difficult that was, since I didn't do the work. an old boss of mine, a mentor, once said, "There is no task too difficult to ask somebody else to do for you." So that's been part of our mission. But the balance, and there's always a tendency, and this was one of the pitfalls that we fell into early on. There's always a temptation when you bring on a development team, everyone puts their own imprint on the game, and that's great if it falls within the universe. But if it goes outside of that, and they're influenced by, oh, I played title XYZ last night and it had this really cool feature, I want to bring that into a game that didn't have that feature to begin with. That's where you begin straying from the original vision, and that was really painful to us, both in terms of time and money, to have to refocus those efforts, but that's something that we feel that we've done successfully.
Nice. Now, that's probably something that you guys are pretty used to at Nightdive. You know, you've tackled a lot of classic games the last few years.
That's what we do. We've been doing it since the company started. We just celebrated our 10th anniversary, and let's just remember that Nightdive was originally built because our CEO Stephen Kick was able to get the lost rights to System Shock 2. So we have been a company for whom the System Shock franchise has been core to what we do since our company's inception.
Yeah. So this is kind of I don't want to say that the other games you do don't mean anything to you, but I mean this has got to hold a special place in your guys' heart.
It's the crown jewel for us. And we have multiple teams at Nightdive. System Shock has its own team that is dedicated specifically to that project. We do share resources between the teams, particularly things like both art and QA are shared between the teams. But System Shock gets its own special team and its own special budget.
Awesome. Now, I mean, this has been a long journey for you guys. Like with you're so close to beta, you know, are you starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel? And like, how does that feel?
It feels both relief and I'll be absolutely candid with you and your audience. There's also an element of terror in that. We're really hoping that when the game is released, that our audience, particularly, shout out to the people that have supported us since the beginning, particularly our Kickstarter and our backer kit supporters, feel that the game is as special and as wonderful as we've tried to create.
Awesome. I guess with that in mind, like, you know, are you feeling ready still? We are. Okay. Yeah. So I'm what's now that we're close to the beta, what's the next step?
So we're working with a great publishing partner. Our publishing partner provides a lot of the resources that we did not have on our own, including things like QA and localization. They've been a great partner in helping us find any bugs, try and release it as close to perfect as we possibly can. Those are the next steps. At a certain point after we finish beta, the next step that goes on is the game is essentially content complete. We will be working on polishing and the inevitable bug squashing.
Are people going to be able to get their hands on the beta soonish? Are you guys ready to talk about that?
We have a commitment that we've made to our Kickstarter audience. They will receive access to the beta as soon as that is complete and ready to be going out to them.
Nice. Now, one thing I really respect about you guys is I think it's always a bad idea to put out a release date, and like so often now games are forced to be like, this is when it's coming, and then they go back and they change the date like 2 or 3 more times. Like it seems like that the not following that path has worked very well for you guys.
It has, and we always like to say that that our games will come out when they're ready. That said, System Shock has been the exception. We've had multiple delays and pivots. It is so important to us that we really want to try to make the game as close to perfect as possible. But now the end is in sight, and we're really kind of moving down to that home stretch.
Nice. Is there like anything you'd like to convey to System Shock fans?
Yeah, we 100%. We could not have done that without you. And if there are people out there, there may be 1 or 2 that aren't familiar with System Shock. We have the enhanced version, is part of Humble Bundle's bundle for the Ukraine. Please consider donating for that. 100% of the proceeds from the sale of those titles, and there are many other games and other materials that Humble has collected. 100% of the proceeds from that go to support Ukrainian relief organizations.
Awesome. And if folks want to keep up with Nightdive Studios and everything that you guys are up to, where should people go?
Anywhere on social media, please feel free to follow us on Twitter, Facebook. We have a Discord channel. We'd love to hear from you, get your feedback on the game, and we're highly visible and highly accessible.